Okay, Matthew, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm on the speaker.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry. Okay, just one thing. Marco is telling me like while I can I send you like what he's going to say, and then just in one part change like the slide to the video, or changing like the it's like the movement of the slides. That's it. I don't know how to send a message to just change the during the presentation, like the slides, or I will just text you like change. I don't know what you prefer, like how we can communicate to just make a like it make it flow.
Yeah, maybe you can put it in a WhatsApp group, Glenn. I don't know
Okay,
if Matthew can respond now. Maybe you can do over WhatsApp, but I think good point indeed.
okay. Um, okay, there are just three slides, so we would be say okay. Okay, I will text you in on the WhatsApp group like a change, change. Okay, that's funny, but yes, okay, that's. I think it would work. Rodrigo, can you speak?
Hello, hello everyone. Yes, I can listen.
Okay, perfect.
I can speak. Uh, we're starting 25 in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
9
someone
minutes.
will. Yeah.
And guys, we have started live streaming now. So we're also accessible online. Just a heads up, all the best to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Siomera, Glenn, did you also get a hold of her? So I don't see her yet. Everyone online, welcome. Thanks for joining. We'll be shortly starting this meeting and connecting to the team in Zimbabwe, who will start the meeting officially.
Hello. Am I are we live online? Okay. Hello everyone. Dia Vakarja agus Cade Mila Falcha. My name is Siska Devro and I will be co-moderating our event today on behalf of Youth Engaged in Wetlands, Repeat and the UN Environment Programme. We would like to start by welcoming everyone here today. This is a youth event, but also an intergenerational event. It's also a physical event, but also an online event. So we want to say hello to our online audience as well, and we hope you're engaged today. Youth leaders around the world are playing a vital and meaningful role in the conservation and sustainable use of wetlands. And today we're here to discuss this, showcase the regional initiatives that are happening where youth leaders are playing this role, and also to show how we can drive youth participation in the conventional wetlands. We believe that intergenerational leadership matters. Why? Because intergenerational equity in environmental governance matters. We want the ambitions of the decisions made today to serve our generation and the future generations. Also because youth are active, obviously, and because we are stronger together. When we blend scientific knowledge with traditional knowledge and also youth innovation, this will lead to effective outcomes for wetlands conservation. To quote the World WYCA, we move systems not by passing the torch, but by lighting the way together. So we have a very packed agenda. Today we will start with opening remarks from our guest of honor, Ms. Elizabeth Marema, the Deputy Executive Director of the UN Environment Programme. We will then also have opening remarks from the Youth Working Group and an update on the draft youth resolution. We will have showcases from each continent of the world, followed by an intergenerational panel discussion. followed by an update on our global youth statement. We also have a very special video from Iman Ebrahimi, the Ramsar Youth Champion, who will share about wetlands conservation in the context of conflict. And we will close our event with a very important closing word from our local Zimbabwean youth focal point as well. So then, without further ado, because we also have this very busy agenda, I'm honored to welcome Miss Elizabeth Marema, our guest of honor here today, and the Youth and Environment Programme's Deputy Executive Director. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. I think it's a mistake to have me as the guest of honor to a youth event, but delighted I'm seeing some what I call old generation, and old generation are those of me who I think even those in the room, I see few, we should confess we have contributed to making the world the way it is today. When I say the way it is today is all the actions we have taken which have led to degradation, pollution, I mean, all the bad things happening in the world. And that's why now we are getting messages from the youth and our children really blaming us as parents, great parents, or mothers, fathers, for hopefully not leaving the world to them the way it is today. So indeed, put that pressure. We need it. If our children don't do it, who will do it? And do not wait to come to the forum like this to speak out. We begin from home. That homestead with your parents, because it is us, I will say, as parents who now make decisions in these global processes. And if those messages do not begin to sink from home, then the changes here will not happen. And it's good to see that the topic here is from resolution to action, which I'll put actually from paper to action, because resolution will end up in a paper, and then what? So it is those actions which you will put in place which really makes a difference. So good evening to all of you, and many thanks for inviting me here. I will say to embarrass myself and to embarrass the old generation like me, because we have not made this world a better world for you. And that's why now the youth, you are coming up to remind us that this world is not for us, but it's for you. And you are the leaders of tomorrow. You are the future. You are the presidents of tomorrow, the ministers of tomorrow. And if you are the ministers of tomorrow, the changes do not happen tomorrow. They will have to happen today. Otherwise, if they wait for tomorrow, it means it will be that future of which we are seeing it now, which is the climate change, the pollution, the degradation, the drought, the poor wetland, degraded wetland, and everything around us. So if you are really the future of tomorrow, yes, action begins now and not tomorrow. But it's also good to see literally across the world, and particularly my personal observation, probably since the last 5-6 years, every year you see the youth movement increasing in all rounds, including even having our own children going to international courts, so as to push not just the parents, but also the governments to take action on the commitments which they make at international conferences. So this is the youth of today. When I grew up, I mean, I would not have thought of anything like that, going to court or screaming to my parents, but today our own children scream at us. We grew up, you just take orders. Go left, you go left, go right, you go right. There's no questioning. But these days you sit down and as a child of 5 years, you are really arguing, because the first word which comes to their mouths is why, why. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to go left? Why do I mean, you respond to the whys until you get fed up. But these are the children now. These are the youth now. A completely different world. So if we turn to what we are here today, and it's good hearing that the youth, you are initiating your own resolution on wetlands, which you'll also be looking at moving at that resolution from a document, a nice decorated paper, into really action, so that after 3 years, you can come back and say what you are doing intended for what impact in your community. So that's excellent. And your own youth wetland group, or the Ramsar Youth Working Group, and all the grassroots initiatives worldwide are actually leading the way. And it should not just be the wetland. I know you cannot deal with the wetlands without looking at other environmental issues, because they're all connected. You can't deal with wetlands without talking of climate change. You can't deal with wetlands without talking of loss of biodiversity, or pollution, or waste, which goes into that same wetland. So all these issues are interconnected, and the noise should be beyond wetlands to other issues for which they are all connected. But equally, let us also be honest to ourselves that despite all the efforts being taken, and of course, even by yourselves, and here I'm looking particularly backgrounds, whom of which are still excluded in the decision-making process. Many of us have traveled from different destinations. Imagine from all the way the Pacific, Samoa, Fiji, to here, Australia, I've seen in the plenary. But these are the few who either can afford or supported to travel and be able now to have this discussion. But the actions on the ground is not taken or undertaken by them. It's those local communities, the marginalized groups we have left behind. Those are the ones who make a difference. So when we come to these conferences, how do we ensure these discussions, which are done by what I would say the elite, benefit those communities which we have left behind? And really to ensure that they're included, inclusive, so that then these decisions are sustained into action on the ground, and that those actions also are backed by really resources to be able then, or to enable them to support those actions. And we know wetlands are one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth, because they provide us, the wetlands provide us food, provide us clean water, regulate climate, support biodiversity and ecosystem, and also support resilience to droughts and floods. But yet, 64% of the world's wetland, they have disappeared, literally completely disappeared since 1900. So when you hear these statistics are not encouraging, and that's why I'm saying my generation, we have contributed to this disappearance of this big percentage of the wetlands. For us, at the United Nations Environment Program, which is a global voice on environment, our mission is particularly to inspire and enable you and others to improve your lives without compromising the lives also of those other future generations. And when I say also those other, these include the unborn children who will expect them to find the world with clean water, with plenty of food, and not degraded land or degraded wetland. So you as youth are really critical part of our UNEP mission. And especially when we look at a projected 1.3 billion young people projected by 2030, literally it is imperative that we bridge the intergenerational gap both in power as well as in participation. And when I say power, power is a shared leadership, combining institutional experience, traditional knowledge, as well as youth innovation. When we talk of technology today and the innovation, many countries are inspired by the youth. Let's keep that, because that's the only sustained or sustainable path moving forward. But we also know that the young people, equally, you face the major barriers in terms of funding, in terms of limited mentoring, unclear pathways to be able to influence policy. So the few of you are here, this is where you are taking part in influencing the policy decisions being taken at this COP15. And that is why us as UN Environment Program, we are supporting this new youth resolution going to be introduced here this week, because it builds on the foundation of the previous COP, and it also aligns closely with our own UNEP priorities, including what we have as the Global Youth Declaration or the 2024 Pact for the Future that was adopted by the General Assembly, UN Summit of the Future last year. So both call for institutionalization of youth participation at every level of environmental decision making. So not just at local level, but we know the local level feed up, and from up feed down for the local action. And here is basically urging the contracting parties to the Ramsar Convention to really take steps to encourage youth participation. How can that be encouraged? One is to basically ensure government delegations to these conferences also include the youth, or at least include the youth focal points. So for here, in addition to the wetland focal point in the countries, should also be the youth representatives, because that's where you can make your voice. That's where you can be heard. And that's where then you can be listened. And I think we've reached an era, youth are no longer taken for granted. You have a seat, you are heard, you participate, you speak, and that's how then you influence decisions in your favor. And we in UNEP, we believe working with and for you, the youth, because our work includes programs like Generation Restoration, which is a movement under our UN Decade for Ecosystems Restoration. We have what we call Youth Champion of the Earth Award, which is given every year. We also have Tide Turners Tackling Plastic Pollution. We have Nature Positive Universities Network, which now has expanded to have footprint in over 60 countries. And we also co-lead the work on Green Jobs for the Youth Pact, together with International Labour Organization and UNICEF, all basically intended to help the youth, the young people, to enter the green economy and support Faith of the Earth Youth Council, which unites spiritual values together with environmental action. We equally have a global peatland initiative, which is building currently a new 10-year strategy And that strategy is being developed with the youth engagement at its core, including, or which will include training programs to be able to equip the young researchers with the tools to influence policy decisions. And I have my colleague at the right, at the corner there, is a person to talk to who will tell us more during this session, later, I think, in the panel, how can we get youth engagement in the Ramsar Convention mechanism. And let me close by saying the young people, the youth are already, and we know you are already delivering solutions for wetlands through research, through community action, through education, through advocacy. So your leadership has grown since the last COP of Ramsar. It is now time to embed that leadership fully into the governance and restoration efforts. Together, let's implement that youth resolution when it is adopted with ambition and accountability. A healthy future for the wetlands depends on bold intergenerational leadership, and that means investing in the present and the future of the youth. You are the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. They say that it's a handshake, not a handover. And I think having today Elizabeth Marema, the DED of the UN Environment Programme, representing at the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, the UN Secretary General, this really shows and sends a clear message how senior leadership is showing up for youth. And I think that also happens at a very good moment where we have a very clear example. Oh. Okay, we're very happy here today to have Dr. Mazunda Mumba, the Secretary General on the Convention of Wetlands, to join our youth event. We were just saying how having leadership show up for youth sends a clear message. So we're very happy to see you show up at this moment. Would you like to speak now? Or if you are ready now, then I would please invite you to take the floor. Please, everybody, a round of applause for Dr. Mazunda Mumba. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a long day for me. I mean, deep into negotiations. Firstly, I want to begin by thanking you for organizing this event, which is absolutely fantastic. But also, I want to say that my career in wetlands started as a youth. I actually started as an intern at the Ramsar Convention. And to understand multilateralism, I was very confused. I was like, what is going on? And then a few years later, and that was in 1998 when I moved to Switzerland from Zambia, the country next door. And when I arrived in Switzerland, I was like, what am I doing here in this country of mountains and snow and darkness after fall? But over time, I understood the complexity of wetlands because I learned how to ski, but I understood the fragility of spaces and fragility of mountains. And then I ended up doing my PhD in wetlands in London later on in a Ramsar site in Zambia, in the Kafue Flats, which is one of my favorite spaces, but it's changed dramatically. But why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because time goes fast. Your phase of life as a young person goes very quickly. But this is also the phase of life where you have the most energy, you have the most potential capability, and you have your voice. And share it. I am so honored because when I took over the convention as the Secretary General in October of 2022, I was 6 weeks on the job when COP14 happened. And COP14 made history. For the first time in the history of the convention, over 50 years, there was a resolution, thanks to Australia and to Costa Rica, on youth and wetlands. And I asked the question, is this only happening now? I was surprised because it just happened then. But it was also a shift in the dialogue and in the conversation. And what I really respect and love about that resolution, it also called to the fact that delegations that come to this contracting of parties should also have a young person and a youth on their delegation. And it's changed everything. It's changed everything because there's an element of accountability. Because youth are not just the future, youth are here now. They're learning, you guys are digitally savvy, you're doing research, you're involved in different work, and this is the most incredible moment for learning. And so I'm excited. Youth Engaged in Wetlands, we've had some of the most fun conversations, linked them up to other youth groups in other multilateral environmental agreements, and also just seeing this energy, this dynamism from you. We've had the youth working group that we've been engaged with, and really just letting them understand process. But ultimately, you're also the people at the ground, really on the ground. So share your stories, share your experiences. One of the things that we have done at the Secretariat is that we have a feature section on our website as well. We want to hear your stories. We want to know your journey because those stories matter for someone somewhere. And that's why for me, even when I visit different countries, I speak at a university. I teach at different universities. Recently, I was even teaching at Sciences Po in Paris to really talk about multilateralism to young people. And they challenged me. Why does the convention do this? Why do you do X, Y, and Z? Because they read everything. So I really want to encourage you and say all the very best in these days of negotiations. Be a part of the conversation, but more importantly, be curious. Because it's also curiosity, through curiosity that you learn. Ask the questions, even if they may be uncomfortable, ask those questions because we need them. We need them in this process. So I'm looking forward to hearing the deliberations and also meeting you. I think I've met several of you on the corridors. They stopped me for a quick selfie and picture, which was wonderful. But I can just wish you all the very best. And really, thank you so much for showing up here and also for sharing you. I'm really excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's both inspiring and reassuring of your also early experiences that I think a lot of us in the room today are going through at the moment. What would you like? A photo? Okay, quick photo.
Oh, you want all of us here? Who wants to have a moment?
Okay.
Apologies.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are the younger generation. We need our TikToks. So it wouldn't be a true youth event without that moment. With that, I'm very happy to introduce our next speaker. I would like to introduce Nolani Hazelman from the Secretariat Pacific Regional Environmental Programme, who will be presenting on behalf of the Ramsar Youth Working Group and the Australian government. So please put your hands together for Nolani.
Hello? So sorry. Can you hear me? Okay. What was I up to? Can you hear me? Okay. It's off. Is it on? Okay. The people at the back can hear me, but not the people at the front.
Online audience need mic swap.
Please work with us as we go through technical difficulties. We're supposed to be tech savvy. Can you hear me? This is on. Now it's off.
Hello.
Hello? Okay.
Can't do. Sorry. Please accept my apologies on this. Then
The temporary youth working group, while also analysis of the national reports, 2% of contracting parties reported youth engagement in policy and decision-making processes. A persistent challenge for contracting parties is how to meaningfully seek, welcome, and reflect on diverse youth voices in wetland priorities, policies, and programs. What more can we do? With the ongoing youth working group activities, I would like to highlight a few key points. The draft resolution that builds on Resolution 14.12 that acknowledges the need for the ongoing importance of the full implementation of resolution and the youth work plan, including the implementation of recommendations from consultancies. The new youth resolution proposes an updated youth working group mandate, which, to name a few, includes guidances for youth professionals and other youth to engage with policy processes at national and international levels, and guidances for contracting parties to the convention to engage youth in wetland conservation, restoration, and policy development. And lastly, to highlight key areas of the youth work plan that are challenging to implement. 4.2.3, how to co-design with youth on wetland projects. 3.4.1, how to design wetland projects with associated financial resources for youth employment and livelihoods. And also 3.6.1, how to identify and explore with contracting parties ways to integrate youth considerations into existing and new wetland policies, strategies, processes, and programs. Which leads us to now. This side event, led by the Youth Engaged in Wetlands and the Biennial of the Americas, co-organized by various other youth from organizations. The event will open with presentations from each Ramsar region, showcasing successful examples of youth engaging with contracting parties on wetland projects and policy initiatives. These examples, from community initiatives and indigenous knowledge to policy advocacy, will inspire and highlight effective models across diverse ecological and cultural contexts. The audience will then join an intergenerational facilitated panel discussion to explore pathways for advancing the Convention on Wetlands and the COP14 Youth Resolution. I would like to acknowledge the collective efforts that have brought this event together through many months of preparations, late night calls, early morning calls, from all around the world. Without further ado, I would like to present you with the next part of our event. We will now have beautiful videos and presentations from each region showcasing the work that youth are doing. To start off, Oceania would like to bring to the stage a short video that focuses on youth in Australia and Fiji. What you are about to watch shows, firstly, the Youth Advisory Group Program of Australia, which was established to embed youth in policy development. The 2025 Climate Change and Water Youth Advisory Group that focuses on climate adaptation and water policy, including the Ramsar Convention on Wetland Communities. The national water reform that aims to integrate environmental water management to restore wetlands and biodiversity, and also the youth engagement in water policy that contributes to Australia's role at COP15, providing feedback on the draft resolution and supporting.
There's such beautiful natural parts of our country.
Yeah, but
We sufficient river. Ocean is our identity. We value the ocean. Gender policy because instead of going back from being chosen as a district youth rep, it's a big task. It's a fast approaching, I would say, a crisis. Our next generation, that's what we're thinking about.
You're really passionate about those issues, and we want our future to be secure, not just us, but also for the following generation to come.
For us, our ocean is our captain. That's why we definitely try to protect it.
Say in our future, it's our future after all. We're going to be the leaders of tomorrow.
From the video, you also watched a youth representative from Dangimaiwai Youth and Women's Group of Kavewa Islands, Fiji, who actively contributes to her community who relies on the environment, especially mangroves and the ocean for the daily sense of survival. Now, I would like to present to you two more initiatives from the Pacific Islands. If we could have the presentations on the screen, please. First off with Fiji, we have the Goligoli Lokovata, the Great Sea Reef, one of Fiji's Ramsar sites. Youth play a role in monitoring and restoration activities. They participate in mangrove planting, coral gardening, and beach cleanups around across the province. If we could press next on the slide, please. Yep. No, back, please. Thank you. They also assist in monitoring water quality, fish catch data, building local capacity for community-led reef management. This also helps develop livelihood and skills where they are engaged in alternative livelihoods, feasibility studies to reduce pressure on reef resources. Next, in Samoa, we have an environmental education program specifically designed for children at the ages of 13 called the Guardians Campaign. This program aims to promote and revive traditional practices of conservation, with 5 modules called Trash Star, which focuses on waste management, Wise Fisher, focusing on sustainable fishing, Tree Guardian, focusing on mangrove and forest conservation, Coral Champion on coral conservation, and Samoan Voyage, focusing on traditional voyaging. This program was modeled after traditional canoes as a floating classroom to change the ways of traditional thinking. Children are now able to be in the fields of mangroves and coral reefs, learning firsthand how these wetlands play an important role for the communities who rely on them. It is also aimed for children so that they view these as fun experience which can lead them to environmental or conservation careers. I sincerely thank you for allowing me to show these initiatives from the Oceania region. I would now like to pass on to our next region, Asia, which will be presented by Matthew of the East Asian Australasian Flyaway Partnership Youth Task Force. Thank you very much.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Maayong gabi. So that's good evening in our local language. So I'm Matthew. I'm from the Philippines, and I'll be talking about the different youth initiatives in Asia. And also, I just want to stand up here just to see the screen. All right. So thank you. Next slide, please. All right. So here in the Philippines, we actually had our first National Mangrove Youth Summit. It was in a Ramsar site, the only Ramsar site in Metro Manila. So one fun fact, historians actually think that Manila is actually named from a mangrove plant or species. It's Maynilad. It means there's a mangrove. So the scientific name of nilad is Siphiphora hydrophiliacea. So if you try to Google it, so you can see it there. So we had here our first National Mangrove Youth Summit with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. And it was actually a way for us to have more champions on youth on mangrove conservation, also on migratory water birds. All right, next slide, please. And we also had our own youth campaign plan. So it was like a summary of our campaign plan during the different workshops that we had during the National Mangrove Youth Summit in the Philippines. All right, next slide, please. And the Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park, which is the Ramsar site in Metro Manila, they also support different youth initiatives, not only with bird watching, but also having different educational discussions with different students on the protection of these vital ecosystems. All right, next slide, please. And then in Bangladesh, because from the recent World Migratory Bird Day, the theme was all about having community-managed bird-friendly spaces. So the thing about this one is that there were different communities, youth that were actually involved in having the creation of these bird-friendly spaces and having different awareness-building initiatives. Not only having different discussions, but also having it like on arts, having different paintings. All right, next slide, please. So we have here some photos. So during the World Migratory Bird Day in Bangladesh, this was actually one of the recipients of the Small Grant Fund of the EAAFP. All right, next slide, please. And we also had one in Sri Lanka. So it was the Accelerated Natural Regeneration of Mangrove Project in Anawilon Dawa, Ramsar Sanctuary. So it was also in collaboration with the Department of Wildlife Conservation of Sri Lanka, the Wildlife and Nature Protection Society, Biodiversity Sri Lanka, and also with different students from the Wayamba University of Sri Lanka. So we have here the different key notes. So right, next slide, please. We have here different youth-led initiatives, not only having discussions with communities, but also having mangrove nursery management, which is ultimately really important, restoration, monitoring, capacity building. So from this alone, it would see that the youth are really engaged with different governments in terms of the protection of our wetlands, restoring them, and also with engagements with different communities. All right, next slide. So I have only one key takeaway. So Asian youth members are actually one of the most vulnerable from the impacts of climate change, especially even like in Southeast Asia. But they're also one of the front lines to environmental protection and climate action. Thank you so much. All right, so for the next one, we'll be having Marco. Wait, hold on. So for the next one, we have Marco Rodrigo Arias Ramirez, Youth Congress for Sustainable America. So he's actually on. So I'm not sure if we can hear him. All right, Marco. Oh,
Hello, hello everyone.
okay. Oh, hello, Marco. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Is it okay for you to present?
Okay, perfect. I can start right now. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Greetings from Paraguay. I represent an organization. The name is Defensores del Chaco Pupore Association, an organization rooted in the land and in its people, committed to the active conservation of our most vulnerable ecosystems. I also stand here with the honor of representing the voice of Youth Lead Initiative from the America and the Caribbean. As a member of the Youth Congress for Sustainable Americas under the Biennial of the Americas. Our shared mission is to connect, empower, and amplify community-based climate and environmental action across our continent. Today, I want to bring your attention to a small but vital wetland in the Paraguayan Chaco, the Benjamin Acebal wetland. Though facing threats from the urban expansion and environmental degradation, it remains a refuge for biodiversity and a lifeline for local communities. Our work goes beyond observation. At Defensores del Chaco, we invest in strengthening community capacity, convincing that real conservation must be led by the people who inhabit the territory. Through education workshops, open dialogues, and active participation, we are helping young people and families become environmental stewards. A key strategy has been community bird watching excursion, reconnecting people with the nature and creating scientific, emotional, and cultural bonds with the wetland. Alongside this, we carry out environmental cleanup campaigns, collective, empowering action that reclaim space and restore dignity to the land. This journey has been made possible through our alliance with the local organization. The name is Karua, with whom we share a common vision. The environmental justice must be built from below, with and for the community. And we are not alone. Across our region, we are inspired by other youth and community-driven wetland protection initiatives taking place in Colombia, Chile, Ecuador, and Bolivia. It's showing us that defense of life, water, and territory is shared and growing movement. This effort fall on hope and a strength of purpose. Friends and colleagues, wetland needs more than declarations. They need people who are prepared, connected, and committed. They need action that are rooted in place but aligned with global goals. From this space of dialogue and commitment, I call on all of us to invest in environmental education, grassroots empowerment, and international cooperation. Let us build bridge between our territories, from the Chaco to the Andes, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, and protect wetlands not only as ecosystem, but as source of identity, resilience, and hope. Because protected wetland is protecting water, is protecting life, and is protecting our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. Can we please have the slides? We all have some technical difficulties on all levels. Please, for the... Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to Marco as well. I will be sharing today the work of Repeat. Next slide, please. So, Repeat is a European youth-led cooperative that works to change the heart and minds for and through peatlands. And our vision is an integrated world where all peatland dwellers are supported culturally and ecologically. But next, you might also be asking, what is peat? What is peatland? Known as peatlands, bogs, mires, veinen, torberas, tourbières in French, which probably my accent you don't understand anyway, but there's many different words for this, and it's something that we, everyone has a word in their own language, so I'm trying to learn them all. So peatlands are very special, a very swampy type of wetland, and despite being relatively unknown, their destruction is having disproportionate effects on the climate, biodiversity, and livelihoods. Peat accumulates at just 1 millimeter per year. So, back please. It will take 150 years, if you're any good at maths, to grow just 15 centimeters of peat, meaning peatlands are very precious. In the European Union, 50% of all peatlands are in degraded condition, and up to 80% in countries like Ireland, my country. Next. Well, on our first day, we had a very nice welcome dinner from the Zimbabwean National Youth Group, and they told us in the National Youth Statement that youth are not just benefactors, but co-creators. And this is something that even in Europe, we are also feeling. We're bringing passion, innovation, and a fresh perspective. And even more than that, youth are actually feeling more than ever the urgency of the triple planetary crisis. And we're bringing creative solutions that cross generations and, as we can see today, also cross borders. So Repeat, yeah, you can see we're getting our hands dirty at restoration camps. We're supporting the emergence of transformative narratives and listening with ears and eyes open to new and old generations. Next. So in Repeat, we're organizing the Bog Academy project. So in Ireland, peatland is included in our national curriculum, despite being a fifth of our country. So this project addresses this gap by engaging with children in a sensory way, in a memorable way, to teach them about peatlands. We also work to democratize information, so having accessible, fun, engaging comic signs that answer questions like, what even is a peatland? We're also using peatlands to imagine grief. Now, more and more, we're going to be grieving the loss of our nature. So we've held workshops that reimagine how we can deal with grief, both socio-politically, environmentally, personally, and restore our inner and outer landscape. We organize a Peat Fest, which is to bring all peaty people together for music and for community. And we also connect children across the world through the Peat Pen Pals program. Next, please. So, what's needed? I think, well, we spoke a lot today. We want to see more intergenerational spaces to pass on deep knowledge. We want youth in governance, not just on the sidelines. But more than anything, youth want action, and also intersectional action that brings social justice, climate justice, nature justice, and peatland justice together. Next, please. So what we're working on now, we want to also have systematic change. So we've launched the Peatland Justice Campaign, which is a co-creative narrative shifting initiative that seeks to explore and transform peatland injustices. So a huge threat to Europe's peatlands is extraction. 80% of all global peat extraction happens in Europe. And this is actually the highest emissions per hectare of any land use across the world. And the main drivers of this are trade, so using peat in horticulture, so in your potting plants, in your in the compost itself, you often have peat. And also in finance, peatland degradation is often embedded into economic systems that prioritize profit over people and ecosystems. So with this project, we're targeting retailers and the public-facing link in this supply chain to have this shift in systematic change and to actually change what products are on our shelves. Next, please. So with that, I say, yeah, thank you very much. Also a thank you to Reed on behalf of Youth Engaged in Wetlands. They've been a huge ally to us, also in supporting us financially in a structural way. So they've kindly helped us facilitate all of our transactions, which actually made it possible to bring a lot of youth here today. So this is a big effort as well. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to introduce Veronica Mulenga from Climate Save Zambia.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Siska. My name is Veronica Mlenga, and I'm a climate justice activist from Zambia. I'm representing Climate Save, which is a global youth organization addressing the link between animal agriculture, the climate crisis, and climate education. So let's talk about climate education. One problem facing the African continent today is a lack of climate education. Many people on the continent aren't educated about the climate in schools and in their communities. The climate literacy rate in Africa is extremely low. And I believe, as an advocate for climate education, it is very crucial to educate people on the climate crisis. And because there's a lack of climate education, even fewer youth are educated on wetlands and how crucial they are to our environment. Next slide, please. With all that being said, there is still so much on the African continent. There's a lot of youth working on countless initiatives, like in Zimbabwe, in Harare Trust. We have they defend urban wetlands through youth-led education. In Zambia, we have BirdLife Zambia, which works with youth to monitor wetlands and birds. In Madagascar, we have students who work with the Peregrine Fund to restore Ramsar wetlands. Now we have Green Restoration is championing wetland restoration and activism. And in Uganda, we have youth groups that are protecting Lake Victoria through cleanups and outreach. I believe that if more... Sorry. I believe that if more youth are educated about the climate crisis, I believe if more youth are educated about the climate crisis, they would understand the critical role wetlands play in our ecosystems. So with all that being said, there's a lot of initiatives that are happening in Africa that are working in wetlands conservation. And here is a short video showcasing their efforts. Thank you.
To Africa, the continent alive with vibrant wetlands and rising youth leaders. We begin in southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, host of COP15 at the mighty Victoria Falls, the Ramsar site shared with Zambia and a symbol of unity and natural power. In Zimbabwe, youth came together to celebrate World Wetlands Day, raising awareness, educating communities, and sharing the power of youth-led action. Further south in South Africa, wetlands are alive with birds like the pied kingfisher, playing a vital role in preserving biodiversity during moments of quiet beauty. In West Africa, wetlands are essential to everyday survival. In Nigeria, the Akokayala storm shields communities from floods and supports daily life. Next, we move to Central Africa, where in Cameroon, wetlands offer more than water. They store carbon, support forests, and protect biodiversity. And beyond the mainland, Africa's islands are rising too, like Madagascar, where young people are restoring wetlands and reviving nature. Through community-driven conservation supported by the government, youth are helping protect 4 key wetland areas, 3 of which are Ramsar sites. Endangered species like the Madagascar fish eagle and the once lost Madagascar project now thrive again. These wetlands are lifelines, providing water, hydropower, and rice for local communities. Over 100 students are leading vital research here, proving that youth aren't just part of the future, they're shaping it. As host of COP15, Zimbabwean youth share their hopes and concerns. They speak of clean water, protection from floods, and the quiet beauty wetlands bring to daily life. To them, wetlands are more than nature, they're life itself. Their words carry hope and urgency, a powerful reminder to value and protect these fragile ecosystems before they vanish. Africa's wetlands are alive with youth-led action. These wetlands are not just ecosystems, they are the heartbeats of our continent. Protect them and we protect Africa's future.
Hello. Thank you, Veronica. When Siska said this was going to be an interactive session, I didn't think that that included the tech team. Your presence is definitely felt, you guys. Thank you for that. My name is Thandeka Ndlela, and I'm going to be moderating the panel discussion. Since COP14, youth have been working hard to put the youth resolution into practice, but turning ideas into action takes more than intentions, which today we have our youth leaders, people from NGOs, people from civil society, to tell us what it takes actually to make youth inclusion real. Before we jump into the discussion, I'd like to ask the panelists to introduce themselves to you. I am going to start here and interacting with the tech team because we have someone online joining.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Juan Carlos Vasquez. You can call me Uncle JC here tonight. And I'm working with Siska. Siska is my boss today. And we are in the Biodiversity, Peoples and Landscape Unit of the United Nations Environment Program.
I'm Kim Diana Connolly, and I'm here for WWN. You're going to hear a little bit about that. But in my day job, I actually work with students who are doing service learning in their second and third years of law school, which is graduate school in the United States, doing environmental justice. I supervise them, but I make them first chair. I'm their backup, and they are on the front lines.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tafadzwa Kurotwi from Emerald Climate Hub, a youth-led organization. And I am also a data analyst by profession, ensuring innovation around environmental and climate change issues. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Vincent Tabilog from the Philippines. I'm currently the chair of the East Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership Youth Task Force, and I'm currently a student. Hello. I'm currently a student at the Graduate School of Environmental Science University in Japan.
Tech team, again, are you able to get our online panelists to join? Technical difficulties, of course. We'll get our, they're on now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so nice to greet you all from Barranquilla, Colombia. I'm Xiomara Acevedo, the founder and director of Barranquilla Plus 20 Foundation, and a member of the Youth Congress of the Americas.
Thank you all for those wonderful introductions. We'll jump straight into the discussions. We're running short of time. I want to start with you, Uncle JC. How is UNEP integrating youth leadership and inclusion into its work on biodiversity and wetlands, particularly through initiatives like the Global Peatland Initiative?
Thank you. And first, by giving the example, the UNEP delegation to this COP, and please raise their hands, those for whose this COP is the first conference of the parties you are attending. So we have a lot of newcomers, but also experienced people that give us hope. And the first thing is to bring the composition of our delegation is half of the people are under 35. I think that is our threshold here today. So it's not only involving the youth, is to empowering them. They are the ones leading, they are the ones organizing, they are the ones conducting these events and following certain negotiations. We have three pillars. Science is the basis, so we need the rigor of evidence and evidence synthesis, and the youth is involved in producing this science now. You are all in universities, you are producing the new knowledge that we need with the technology that is required for these new challenges. And we have this integrated in the Global Peatland Initiative. There is a research group, and the young members, they contribute to that. The second pillar is communications. You will see there is not UNEP pavilion here because the youth told us we need to have a virtual pavilion in 3D somewhere. So we are going digital, and we are thinking of the gamification as well to explain to the new generation what's going on. And this is content developed by you. You are TikTokers, you are on Instagram, you are so that we are dealing with in a simplified manner. And the third one is very important, is the governance. You should I'm looking or not. I keep going and sessions, not just to observe. Planet where we have detected life. And do you know why there is life in this planet? Because it's the planet that have water. And do you know why we have water in this planet? Because we are in the Goldilocks zone, in the perfect position, not that far, not that close to the sun. And you are the first generation. So we are in a planet that we used to have it, is a habitable zone. You are the first generation that is worried about the survival of the species. Many of you are planning to have dogs and pets instead of children because you see that the future is maybe complicated. And it's because the human species is the only one, I'm simplifying, but that destroys its own habitat consciously. Now, I would like to say, I don't want to say it's my generation, I feel guilty. It's not my generation, it's the economic model we produce and we consume things. If you don't change that model, you will repeat what is happening now. So it's not the whole, it's depends. So we need a new bioeconomy, we need you are the ones bringing these concepts to us. So we are working on the three pillars, but also please give us the new concepts to change the mindset, to change the narrative, but also to change the way we produce and we interact with nature. And I close with that. The Brazilian Minister of Indigenous People, and I think there was an indigenous representative here, used to say, the future is ancestral. So probably you will be back to before a couple of generations that were too excited over consuming and over for their own immediate leisure and benefit. So thank you for being here and for speaking loudly. Take the floor as you were invited by the Secretary General of Ramsar. We want to hear more from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Isn't it amazing to hear the steps in which UNEP is integrating youth It's amazing. Clap hands again for UNIP. Now let's switch it up and move to a young person, Tafadzwa here. Tafadzwa, my question for you today is, what funding or job opportunities do you think would help more young people work in wetlands across Africa?
Thank you very much for the question. I would say to engage more people in wetland work is very critical and essential to create practical skill building opportunities which can be achieved by hands-on projects and experiences being offered through paid internships focused on wetland restoration, monitoring, and management, which provides income and also valuable real-world experiences. And to ensure that young people are also integrated in job opportunities, we also speak of the government backup, which is the green jobs, which are being established programs through which are similar to conservation corps, which would create stable employment and provide a comprehensive training in areas such as ecological surveying, water quality analysis, and also data collection. And just to add on, to ensure that young people's funding are also integrated in their projects, we need to ensure that they are not only short-term, but also long-term, to ensure that our projects are not only invested, but are bankable and are also sustainable. We also speak of the direct long-term financing support for youth-led and youth-serving initiatives focused on wetlands, including the Ramsar, and also the GEF, which is the Green Climate Fund mechanisms, and also to ensure that equitable access to technical tools, data sets training, and technologies to empower youth to lead on wetland research. And just to furthermore, is just young people, we need to keep ourselves with capacity building and also meaningful skills engagements. That is, we also look at the Ramsar conversion side, where we are provided with a course to ensure that young people are capacitated with the course to ensure meaningful participation and also job creation. So these courses allows us to also part and also to look for funding, apply for funding, etc. And additionally, it is also crucial to young people have equitable access to technical tools, data, and trainings needed for some of the youth-led organizations, such as the Youth Engagement and Wetlands organizations, which are also providing young people with the skills and knowledge, capacity building trainings, and other initiatives, and ensuring that we also look around our local funding and not only international funding, because there is also local funding to ensure that our initiatives go beyond, and also to ensure that we have sustainable in terms of conservation in our communities. So just to close up is just to ensure that our initiatives as young people need to ensure that they are really not only about investment, but there's long-term and there's also room for bankable initiatives in our countries and in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Tafadzwa. I think Tafadzwa touched on very important points there, that real investment in youth employment and not just internships will shift what's possible for wetland restoration across the continent. Now I'm moving back to our older generation, to Kim Diana. My question to you, Kim, is what role can NGOs play to support youth partnerships and leadership in wetland work?
And that's a great question. Thank you very much. NGOs like World Wetland Network, where I'm proud to serve as co-chair, have the potential to play an absolutely imperative role in fostering youth leadership and partnerships in wetland work. But we have to do it the right way. To begin with, we can serve as conveners, connecting young people across regions and sectors to amplify their voices. Yep. However, we can't just invite the youth in, but we have to take them in and center your amazing insights and leadership. We have to bring you in and center you in the global conservation around wise use of wetlands. So WWN have intentionally co-developed programming with youth leaders like YEW. We've partnered with young scholars and professionals during Ramsar conferences and in regional events, and we hope to shape agendas, share scientific knowledge, and highlight local actions like we're doing here. Partnerships should build trust, provide youth with meaningful platforms and not just symbolic invitations, because there's too much of that, right? On other levels, NGOs can invest in infrastructure of youth leadership. That means supporting not just mentoring programs, but seeking funding to offer things like micro grants and to provide youth with help, but not just help, helpful help for youth learning to navigate the complexities of international environmental policy spaces. So nurturing youth leadership means elevating the work that youth are already doing and facilitating peer-to-peer learning and storytelling, as we heard from the Secretary General. We can also act as a pipeline for youth seeking to go on to professional work, be it in the NGO or government or in private work. And established NGOs having a bit more access to power than purely youth-led NGOs can lobby to encourage that youth involvement become a policy requirement for all things that matter. Finally, we can co-create a new way. Wetland challenges are intersectional. Climate, biodiversity, justice, we've heard this tonight, it's right here. And you as youth leaders are more deeply connected to that complexities than those of us who've been doing our work for a long time. So NGOs siding with the youth who are championing policies and funding mechanisms to get them to reflect, to get the voices to reflect the urgency and innovation that you bring to the table. So, in short, because I know we're going long, I personally believe NGOs have a responsibility to not just include, but to actually reimagine and implement true power sharing in wetland governance and conservation. And I am not alone.
Thank you so much for that powerful contribution, Kim Diana. It's not just about giving advice, but it's about making space for young people. Now I come to Matthew. Matthew, using your experiences in Asia, how can youth groups obtain the necessary support from governments to help shape wetland policies and programs?
All right. Thank you so much, Tandeka. In my experience, what I think is that the youth should be really proactive in engaging with governments locally and nationally. I remember before I had a conversation with the mayor in San Enrique. It's a municipality in our province in Negros Occidental in the Philippines. I asked him if we can have like an educational discussion with the youth and children on wetlands because it was actually a Ramsar site, of course. And he said yes, and he likes that the youth should be take part in this different initiatives. And of course, this program was actually funded also by UNICEF. So it's not only with the youth, but also with children. And to think after this educational discussion, we had remaining funds, but we also had to maximize them. So we actually used these funds to purchase different tools and equipment for the existing mangrove nursery for the local communities because these nurseries are also sources of livelihood for them. I mean like alternative livelihoods. All right, another thing also is the youth should also establish strategic alliances with different various environmental NGOs, academic institutions, communities, and different stakeholders as well in engaging with the governments. I remember before, like last December 2024, I had a conversation with the Philippine Senate. We at the youth, we were talking to the senators because it was actually Christmas. It was Christmas season, we gave them like Christmas cards and with different proposed protected areas, including wetlands. And I also talked with different senator with having the same language. It was also a way for us, the youth, that they were able to listen to us. And during these sessions, these Senate bills were actually approved. So we're just really happy that the senators did listen to the youth. And then right now, out of these 11 protected areas that have been approved by the Senate, 5 of these have already been declared as natural parks with signatures of the President of the Philippines. So I'm just really happy that the governments do listen to us. So I think one key takeaway is that the youth should establish different alliances, and let's not be shy. For sure, the governments do listen to us, to the youth. And then I remember before, there was this one NGO who told me that sometimes the government doesn't listen to the NGOs, but they listen to the youth. I mean, that's something from them. But of course, it's really important for us that the youth should always be at the front lines of conservation because the future is with us. So thank you so much.
Now I have to talk to my friends, the tech people again. Thank you, Matthew, for that wonderful contribution there. Our last panelist today, Shiomara. And my question for Shiomara is, what are some effective ways in which civil society, local communities, and young people can work together on long-term wetland projects?
Thank you. Thank you everyone for the question. So I will share our insights from our experience here in Barranquilla, in the Ciénaga de Mallorquín, the wetland of Mallorquín, a coastal wetland here in my city. Is indeed a Ramsar site also, despite its, mega biodiversity, its cultural roots, the spiritual meaning and the ties that we as, Barranquilleros and Barranquilleras, the citizens of the city, has with the wetland. And despite, this global recognition of its ecological importance, it of course has a lot of challenges, pressures from pollution, degradation of biodiversity, degradation of ecosystems, urbanization, and the worsening impacts of climate change. So from all of this experience for the past 10 years, despite, these barriers, local communities, especially young people, women, children, we have worked together to restore the wetland, to promote its conservation, to promote its defense. We have globalized indeed the issue of Mallorquín, also demanding the full solutions that the wetland has experienced by different entities and stakeholders here. So, from all of this experience, we consider that one thing that is critical for ensuring continuity and sustainability of wetland conservation and defense is, of course, that is culturally rooted, that is community-led, because communities are the only thing that can ensure continuity, that can ensure sustainability. Also, and especially taking into account that these processes not only take a lot of time to build trust between different stakeholders, but also it costs, right? It's and the resources are very scarce, very limited for this kind of community led action. So I think that's critical. We cannot sacrifice the community ownership and the appropriation of the project for any reason. Also, it's important the intergenerational care, the intergenerational approach. We have secured that children, young people, women, they are the ones making the initiatives, designing the projects, defining where we are doing the planting the trees, etc., where we're doing the nurseries for the mangroves, what kind of seeds, this is very important because these are the people that are not only, the possessors of the knowledge, but also the main right holders to ensure that this process is going to continue. I'm happy to also say, I'm part of this first generation of leaders that started one of these globalization of the mangrove and the necessity to have the wetland protected, but we have different and new associations of leaders, younger leaders, children leaders that are now in charge of supporting this. So, happy to say that this is key for innovation. This is key for sustainability. And also, we have some challenges. It's not easy to lead. It's not easy to protect and demand the conservation of wetlands. Here in Colombia, in different parts of the global south, this is also a threat for the people stepping up in the defense. So that's why we also, prioritize having this community-owned leadership. So everyone, has take a part, but also with somehow, sharing the risk. Because as I said, it's critical that we also protect and demand more effective measures for those environmental defenders that are mobilizing the conservation of ecosystems, also support direct access to finance. This is also critical. The international climate finance, biodiversity finance, they mobilize a lot of these resources. We have some international finance projects here, but the resources are not reaching directly the communities, the fishers people, the local institutions, etc. So this remains a critical challenge if we want to have successful initiatives for the long term. But yeah, in general, despite all these challenges, we have secured the conservation of the wetland. I'm happy to say that it has gotten a recognition, the urgency to protect it. We have gotten national measures to enhance the conservation of the wetland backed by the Ministry of Environment. So happy to say that finally we have you have been hearing, we have been heard, and there are some solutions in place to secure the ecosystem, at least, from this driver of degradation. We have been taking our part. So I would say, yeah, it's, intergenerational equity is community-led leadership, is community-rooted solutions, and it's access to decision-making scenarios like these COPs, and also those national and local decision-making spaces, critical aspects that can secure successful initiatives and long-term processes for the defense of ecosystems, because it's not only the conservation, it's also the defense. And this needs all of these voices together. Thank you.
Thank you, Shomara, for that reminder that we need to collaborate more intentionally. And with that, I would like to hand over to Nadia, who will introduce something called the Global Youth Statement. So you'll get to hear a little bit on what the youth globally has to say. And thank you to all the panelists. She was trying to take the mic away from me. Thank you.
Bragging over a microphone. Thank you so much, Tandeka. Good evening to you all once again, and to all my lovely speakers. I think beyond the tech difficulties, we've had a very great session learning about things that have been going on in the youth spaces when it comes to wetland conservation. My name is Nadia Wusu, a youth ecopreneur who started a sustainable travel company rooted in land restoration, ecosystem building, and also community resilience. So for my next slide, I'll be talking about the Global Youth Statement. Coming to the Wetlands COP, young people realized that we needed a voice that is more unified, more diverse, to be able to end the COP on a good note with. On that note, we started a youth statement that is talking about what people perceive to be the demands of the COP 15. It's talking about youth protecting our ecosystems, securing our future, and we had this started about 6 months ago, where we led different webinars to collate youth voices. We currently have a draft that is going to be fed into while we're having the COP. The reason why we started this is mainly to highlight global and regional importance of wetlands, especially in the face of planetary crisis. Since tech is failing, I'll just be using my iPad. We also wanted to preserve diverse youth perspectives, challenges, and success stories in wetland conservation. And I think from all the presentations we've had in different regions, from Africa, Oceania, Asia, we've heard what young people are doing. And also for us to propose transformative, inclusive, and science-based solutions rooted in justice, tradition, and intergenerational solidarity. So far, we've been able to share this draft statement with different youth groups among different children and major youth groups. We've shared this with UNFCCC youth constituencies like the Yongo, and we've been able to come up with some of our demands. I'll be highlighting some of them here as fast as possible. As young people all over the world, we recognize that wetlands are vital ecosystems, not wastelands. They safeguard biodiversity,
provide livelihoods, store carbon, purify water, and protect against floods. Yet they continue to be degraded by human activity and policy neglect. So for this, young people are calling for the following to all stakeholders here, to all parties here at COP. We've heard about how resource limitations have influenced some of youth activities in wetland restoration and also protecting our Ramsar sites. So for our demands, we're asking to invest in youth as custodians. We're asking for youth inclusivity in decision-making process, and I'm happy that we were able to be given the accreditation to host the youth side event. We also ask that we hold polluters accountable, restore wetlands with equity. On our stronger demands, we are asking to protect wetlands with stronger policies. And as we are all gathered here for COP, we demand immediate enforcement and strengthening of wetland protection laws locally, nationally, and globally. In terms of indigenous knowledge and respect, we're asking that indigenous communities and local communities must be recognized as rightful stewards of wetlands with their voices at the center of governance. We also ask that we make wetlands part of climate action. We believe climate change and climate action is an intersectional aspect where we're focusing on wetlands being fully integrated in national climate strategies like the NDCs as we're heading to COP 30 in Brazil. We hope to have more demands that are implemented in all COP processes, in adaptation plans, and mostly in vulnerable regions. For our next steps, we're happy that we're seeing a lot of youth vibrant faces here. We're going to be sharing the draft youth statement with everyone here. We'd collate your feedback, and once we're done, we're just going to publicize this at the end of COP. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for that very brief overview of the Global Youth Statement. So yeah, thank you very much. We're running slow on time, but as you can see, youth have a lot to say. We have one final video, and then we will have the closing. It's a very special video from Iman Brahimi. He is the Ramsar Youth Champion. He will be here later this week to receive his award. And he is based in Iran, and he will be speaking about wetland conservation in the context of conflict. So I please invite our video from Iman. Thank you very much. Hello? Thank you very much to Iman for that very powerful video, and we look forward to meeting him later this week. Without further ado, I would like to pass on to Linda Madzudze, the Zimbabwean youth focal point for Ramsar, and we're very happy to have a local youth to close this event. Please, Linda.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible? Okay. Allow me to do the closing remarks by doing the contradictory part of welcoming you to Victoria Falls and to the beautiful land of Zimbabwe. We are very privileged to have all of you here present today. Thank you to our panelists for such an interesting discussion which we had today. And allow me to close by repeating what our Secretary General said, that the youth are not just the future, but they are here now, and we need to have our voices heard now as we're here at COP15. Also, maybe to make a call for the governments, our partners, our developing partners, and each and every person represented here today. Let's utilize COP15 to make sure that our voices, our mandates, and everything that we want to achieve pertaining to young people is heard, documented. And I know our dear mother was here today, Madam Bremer, said we should enhance our theme from resolutions to action, and enhance it to paper to action. Let it not just end from paperwork, but let's have all that we want being made into action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. So with that, we come to the end of our event. So as I started this event, I said intergenerational leadership matters because intergenerational equity in environmental governance matters. Because we're active, you can see all the energy that went into this. We had weekly calls starting, some people joining at 5 a.m. and others joining at midnight. So there was a lot of energy that went into this, but most importantly, because we're stronger together. So with that, I also heard this at the Zimbabwe Welcome Youth Dinner, that we want to give a pam pam. A pam pam for everyone in the room to say thank you very much. We invite you all to some catering. I'm sure you're all very hungry by now. So thank you very much, everybody. Good night.
Sorry.
So what is the party after this?
This is the party.